Happy New Year, my friends, and welcome back to the Spirit of Yuletide, a numinous podcast mini-series where we explore European folk magic traditions of the winter season. Okay, last episode, and you are probably sick of hearing about the Spirited Kitchen and Spells for the Apocalypse, fair enough, but I'd be remiss if I didn't take a moment to hype up the Numinous Network, where my books come alive in live sessions, on-demand video courses, and collective community rituals. Specifically related to today's Yuletide theme of oath-making and visioning, we have an annual intuitive planning workshop happening on Saturday, January 4th, 2025, and that's included in monthly membership. Imagine if the library and the YMCA had a baby. That's the kind of vibe you're getting with monthly membership in the Numinous Network. It's sliding scale pricing, and you're more than welcome to just pop in and out of membership as your time and financial ability allow. You'll never be pressured to maintain your membership month to month. And if you're one of the people who'll be leaving soon because you just joined for the holiday events and the Spirit of Yuletide, I hope you had a really nourishing time. It's great to be with you, and I hope we'll see you again next year. Now, on this 12th day of Yuletide, we welcome the first day of the new year. Today, we recommit to our highest values and divine the future in the year ahead. Now, we're all familiar with New Year's resolutions. Some people like them, some people loathe them. In days of old in the Nordic countries, this celebration was known as Oath Night. So in ye olden days, everyone understood that the best resolutions are undertaken thoughtfully. They are ceremonialized to seal their power, and they include community accountability to ensure they come to fruition. Now, further along in this episode, I'm going to talk about why I think oath-making is particularly relevant in modern times as we see the rising tide of fascism threaten to overtake us. But first, let's root ourselves further back in time. Let's begin with the oracular aspects of this special day. While this is a day to honor all the gods and goddesses, those presiding over oracular gifts are featured in particular. These could include the Norns and Weird in Scandinavia, and also the Volva, the seer or shamaness, and the Morai from the Greek tradition, also known as the Fates, as well as Apollo, Hecate, and Hermes in the Greek pantheon. Today is the perfect day to cleanse your oracle cards, or pull out your tarot deck and perform a year ahead spread. Warm up your drum or rattle, do a spirit journey to connect with the energies that are calling you, or simply drop into meditation and practice softening into the unknown. Whatever is your preferred method, whether it's booking an appointment with a professional intuitive, dowsing with your pendulum, or giving the old magic 8-ball a shake, today is an auspicious day for psychic work of all kinds. Throughout Scandinavia, Sonargolter refers to Freyr's boar, a holy animal. A golden pig would be brought into the dining hall, upon which men would lay their hands while declaring their oaths. And the seer, the vulva, the oracle, would use the pig's hair for divination. In Finland, they drop molten tin into water and try to divine the future by interpreting the shapes it makes as it solidifies. In Scotland, they do a similar thing with candle wax and water, and they also interpret kale stalks. In parts of Ireland, small objects are hidden in the house, and whoever finds them gets that fortune. So a ring means love, a silver dollar means wealth, bread means good health, and so on. In Belarus, a pile of grain is placed in front of the unmarried women, and whoever's pile the rooster chooses is the woman who'll marry first. In Sweden, they eat rice pudding today with a single whole almond in it. Whoever gets the almond gets good luck this year. In Renaissance Italy, they'd walk around their house with a loaf of bread and a chunk of cheese and eat the whole thing. There would be as many haystacks in the field in the coming year's harvest as there were bites. Cheese and bread traditions seem like good ones to reanimate, so I highly recommend introducing that one if your tummy can take it. Magic making to ensure prosperity in the coming year is also a good bet for today. In Estonia, people eat 7 meals today as a form of sympathetic magic to ensure abundant harvests in the year ahead. When it comes to omen days of the year, today is a real standout. In the Scottish Highlands in the last century and before that, it is said that folks would wake up at sunrise and watch for omens for the first 12 hours of the day, representing the 12 months of the year. Anything notable that happened in that hour would be considered a sign of things to come in the corresponding month. Today is also a good day for space clearing. You want to move the old energy of the past year right on out the door by throwing the windows open and go room by room, cleansing with smoke or sound. Begin and end at your front door, working your way all the way around, or if you live in an apartment, start at the front door and work your way to the farthest window away. You can clear the space by vigorously clapping your hands in every corner and along every wall of each room. Or you can ring a bell, sing, or chant. Keep at it until the sound rings clear and true and strong. When the energy feels right, you're done. You can also clear the energy by lighting some incense or some dried herbs or a stick of resinous dried wood. You just light the material and then blow it out to release the sacred smoke and wave it top to bottom throughout the room. Now, unless you are of First Nations or Native American ancestry, please don't use white sage for this. It's endangered and sacred to cultures that are still recovering from genocide and the loss of spiritual traditions. Regardless of your ancestry, just think about the herbs used in the traditional cooking culture of your people. Those are perfectly suitable for smoke cleansing. Your people almost undoubtedly had some sort of smoke cleansing practice, since that spiritual practice appears nearly everywhere that there have been humans. For instance, from deep in the southern Mediterranean all the way to the Outer Hebrides of Scotland, ancient peoples used thyme, rosemary, mugwort, wild carrot, and all manner of dried flowers as ritual smoke. In the Southwest Asia and North African region, many woods and resins are used such as sandalwood, cedar of Lebanon, frankincense, and myrrh. If you're in the Pacific Northwest, you can use Douglas fir resin or dried cedar boughs. But why not just burn some of the needles from your Christmas tree if you have one? If none of those space-clearing rituals appeal, you could also just leave a bowl of white vinegar out overnight in each room to disperse any stagnant energies. You may also want to give your entire house a good sweep and send all of the dirt out the back door. Then return to your front door and pause there for a moment. Just pay attention. Visualize your home filling with sunlight and a warm golden glow. Every room spilling over with a feeling of creative, dynamic life force energy. Let there be grace and warmth and love. Let there be peace and serenity. Let there be a feeling of refuge and sanctuary. Set a seal on this feeling either with a declaration or an offering. A declaration can be as simple as saying out loud, "And so it is," or "And that's that, thank you very much." An offering could be something a little bit more elaborate, like reading a poem out loud to your home and to the unseen allies and the angels and brownies who live there with you. At the end, what I do is I kiss my palm and place it on my front door. I say in my heart, "Thank you for taking care of us." And then finally, remember, before you discard your tree this year, make sure you saw off the lower 12 to 24 inches of your Christmas tree and save it for next year's Yule log. It's a wonderful way to symbolically ensure the continuity of the seasons and to anchor Yule as a strong tradition in your household. Now, to the oath making. Questions to ask yourself when doing your ritual work today might include, what am I stepping into this year? What will I commit to? How will I serve the greater good? Who do I resolve to show up for? To whom or to what do I pledge my loyalty? In Norse traditions, words said on this day wielded great power. Oaths sworn to Thor while holding a replica of his hammer were holy, especially when witnessed by the community. These days, as fascism and capitalism have been working overtime hand in hand for at least a decade now, working to dissolve the infrastructure and institutions that would normally create a compassionate and democratic society, we must redouble our efforts to protect our rights and the rights of our neighbors, and we can begin at our local level at the very least. In his short and very easy-to-read 2017 book titled On Tyranny, 20 Lessons from the 20th Century, historian of fascism and Yale professor Timothy Snyder offers a handbook for resistance against this rising tide of fascism. I have this book in audio format. It's less than 2 hours long, and I use it as my bedtime listen. If I awake in the night from stress or worry, it helps me fall back to sleep. Not because it's boring, not at all, but because it's so soothing. The simple, actionable steps to overcome overwhelm help ease the strain on my nervous system. It helps dissipate the feeling that maybe I'm not doing enough, and helps clarify the areas where it's most important to me to dedicate my energy, given my desire to not only resist fascism, but create a more equitable and peaceable world. The 20 lessons have simple titles that are action items. For instance, Lesson 1 is Do Not Obey in Advance. Lesson 2 is Defend Institutions. 3, Beware the one-party state. 4, Take responsibility for the face of the world, and so on. On this first day of the year, I end my Yuletide festivities the same way I began, by reconnecting with my values. Given that I hold anti-fascism as a very high value, I can make an oath to live my values by simply choosing one of the action steps from On Tyranny, for instance, and then prioritizing activities that support that action step. So, for instance, these days, I'm quite drawn to this notion of defending institutions. This idea that institutions aren't as solid as we think, and that if we want them to be there for us when we need them, then we need to support and defend them and become involved in them, particularly at our local level. So for me, something like supporting the local 4-H club, that feels really important. 4-H is an institution that I want to preserve and defend. So I've got to figure out how I can get involved. Perhaps it's your community center programs or using the local library, your downtown business association, or your farmers market. Maybe even your smaller local places of worship, or being on a committee at your kid's school, or getting involved in land conservation and supporting Indigenous stewardship, or speaking up for the land back movement. Maybe volunteering for a wilderness trail maintenance crew. These are all forms of defending public institutions. So pick something local that you love, something that you hope will be here in the future, and throw some extra support behind them this year. And then, if you have capacity, you can scale that up a bit, either to something regional or maybe even national. Is there a labor union you could give $5 to each month? So for me, I live quite rurally, and sometimes Amazon is truly the only way we can get supplies we'd like for living on this land. I really enjoy shopping in our nearest small town and the small cities within an hour of us, and I do all the time, but their stores just don't always have what I need, not even the big box ones. And I'd love to boycott Amazon, and most of the time I do, but for some things, it would literally be a 5-hour drive to get that. So for the past couple years, I've supported the Amazon Labor Union with a monthly donation. And since we've moved rurally, I've upped that monthly donation. It's not much. It's about equivalent to Amazon Prime, but I'm sure it makes a difference, and I know that it's in alignment with my values. And I don't know if you've visited Wikipedia lately. I know the encroachment of AI on most search engines is making it tougher to access like good quality reference material. But if you value journalism, if you value a free and independent media and internet included, then maybe Wikipedia is a place that you could direct your $2 a month. I'm not saying that you have to donate money, but I am saying that if you can spare a few dollars, directing them to the cultural institutions you value is hugely important, and it's a way to honor your oath each month. Other oaths you might pledge today could be to follow Snyder's suggestion in Chapter 12, make eye contact and small talk. Snyder doesn't use the term contact nutrition, but this is what he's talking about. And if you've spent any time in the Numinous Network or you've listened to the episodes of the Numinous podcast on contact nutrition and attachment, then you know this is like one of our main values. It's like the main value. Contact nutrition is made up of the 5 building blocks of secure attachment. That's kind eyes, vocal prosody, safe touch, shared rhythm, and ingestion behaviors. Contact nutrition is to secure attachment as vitamins are to a healthy diet. It's how we build a civil and compassionate society. So maybe your oath is to deepen your understanding of how critical these capacities are and to commit to practicing them with neighbors and strangers in your community. We've got a good primer course in the network and we practice all the time. So think back to the beginning of this program. Remember what you really care about. To what or to whom do you pledge your oath in the coming year? I hope you've enjoyed your 12 days and nights of ritual and reconnection to your spirit. It's always such a joy for me to revisit this time of year with you. I love to think of all of us deepening the grooves of ancestral memory as we reenact these traditions. For me, the Yuletide observances are a way to affirm the beauty of the human spirit. Each of us in our own homes, but together in spirit, are reinforcing our bond as animists. We're quietly resisting the harms of the overculture and engaging all of our senses to imagine and animate new ways that are really the old ways, as the wise ones say. I hope you'll keep circulating these new old ways in ever-widening circles, and I hope you'll adapt them to other times of year. It takes everyone to shape a culture, and culture is profoundly, arguably wholly influenced by values. The values that underpin the spirit of Yuletide are, for me, exactly the ones that I would want to shape the days, months, and years that become our shared future. So thanks for being part of it. You can check out my offerings at carmenspaniola.com and sign up for my newsletter to hear about good things to come in the future. Good Yule to you. Until next time, take care.